Man, so I've been wanting to do a podcast on depression for over 2 years. I was thinking about this. I think I first mentioned it to you 2 years ago. And I said, we need to do a podcast on depression, but it's not time yet. You remember that?
Yep.
And I think I said, but I think in like about a year, it will be. And I was off by a year. Like a year came and went, and I was like, nope, still not ready. And so then like another year goes by, and I'm like, okay, let's just do it because I'll never be ready.
Mm-hmm.
That's where I'm at now. I'm like, looking at the topics that we've done podcasts on, there is like this glaring hole in our topics of why haven't we talked about depression?
Mm-hmm.
Right? Like we've done podcasts on like, most things that guys our age are being confronted with, right? We've done several podcasts about pornography. We've done 2 on divorce. We've done abortions.
Mm-hmm.
We've done lots on drugs, infidelity, just so many things. No depression. Because I think this is like maybe the hardest one to talk about. And a big part of that is realizing I'm never going to be ready to talk about it. But I was actually on the phone with Braden today, and he was like, so what are you doing today? And I told him, I was like, well, we're doing Warrior Night, so we're going out to the camp, and Sunshine's coming down, and me and him are going to do a podcast. And he goes, what are you going to do it on? And I said, we're going to do it on depression. And he goes, oh, that's good. That's good. Yeah, we need to talk more about that. And I was like, yeah, that's really the goal. I'd say the one goal for this podcast is we all need to talk more about depression. So if we just even talk about it at all, it's a win.
Agreed. Agreed. To that point, I think anything that you don't talk about, that you don't put out there, that you don't expose, it's hard to have anyone else speak into that in your life. It's hard to have, it's hard to get to the root of whatever it is that you're struggling with, whether it's, whatever it is, like all the things you talked about. But depression is the one, that just the word depression screams isolation.
It's depressing.
Yes.
And I think the things we don't talk about own us. Yeah. If you hold it in, it grows, it boils over, right? And talking about it is like the pressure release valve. Releases its power. So let's talk about it.
I don't want to go just straight really down the to the pit of that right off the rip. But as you're sitting here saying that, think about like every suicide.
Mm-hmm.
There's no release valve.
Yeah, that's right.
That it never hits the release valve. It never hits a point where it releases.
That's the ultimate. That's the ultimate. Mm-hmm. What it can look like. Mm-hmm. Holding it all in.
Yep.
And so I've had for years. I really can't remember when it started. But I just don't remember. I don't remember struggling with depression while I was in the Air Force. I was thinking about this earlier today, like, and I think maybe it was just because I was just plowing full speed ahead all day, every day, that I probably missed all kinds of stuff going on internally just because I wasn't like thinking about anything or giving myself time. It was like the alarm goes off every morning. I'm up and in the shower and shaving
Yep.
and putting on a uniform and pouring a cup of coffee and walking out the door, work all day, come home. As soon as you walk in the door, kids are jumping on you.
Yep.
You're having dinner. You're washing kids, picking up toys, reading stories. It's just like there was just no time for introspection. So maybe it was there, but I just didn't. I don't remember it. It was just too much high-speed life, I think. But I know this, for like the past several years, I have had I get small bouts of depression. And what that looks like for me is I will just and this is the key, I think, and we'll talk about this, but like for zero reason. And I think that's an important part of understanding like what is depression. It's like when it's for no reason, right? Like you're just so down and you don't know why. And there's nothing going on. There's no reason why you should be down. Everything's fine. Life's good. But for whatever reason, like you're just suddenly so overwhelmed or discouraged or depressed or down or melancholy or whatever you want to call it, that like it gets hard to do anything, right? Like when you don't want to move, like you don't want to go to work, you don't want to have fun even. Like you don't want to see your friends, you don't want to go to a party. Anything you would normally enjoy doing just doesn't sound fun anymore. And you just quite frankly would be very content to stare at the pattern on the carpet all day. So I would get something like that. But for me, it would only last typically like a day. Every now and then it would go into like a second day. It was typically like a one-day thing. Be overwhelming. It would come on out of nowhere, hit hard, and then I would just have a really bad day. It was just an off day. I would still get through. I've never had a day where I couldn't get out of bed. I have always gotten out of bed. Even on the worst day, I still get out of bed, go through most of the motions for the day. But the clinical diagnosis of major depressive disorder is to not be able to do anything for 2 weeks. Like if you're going 14 days of this, and so reading that, I was like, okay, whoa, that's real bad.
Yeah.
I have not ever been there, but I know a lot of people have, right? And so like when people talk to me about being super down, I think I'm depressed, I always say like, do you have trouble getting out of bed? And when people are like, yes, I can't get out of bed some days, right? It's like, to me, that's like a line in the sand. It's like, okay, you're on that side of things. I was never on that side. I just kind of had bad days of melancholy, but I know that, man, people with major depressive disorder, like it's so bad, so heavy, like a lead blanket laying over them, that they're not getting out of bed for day after day after day. So I'm able now to I've dipped my toe into it just enough that I can appreciate what it feels like, and I can definitely appreciate its severity for those who have had it much worse than that. But that's been my kind of experience with it for the most part. What about you?
So we were talking about this when we were coming over here, and I don't know that it's for me. It's been something that it is typically attached to something. I've had several situations or events in life. A couple of them that you've definitely, helped me through. That there's an event that just brings me to this point where it'll put me in the same place like you're talking about, where it's like there's nothing I can do to get out of what I'm in.
Yeah, that's a key part of it.
Yeah.
Is there's nothing you can do to. You can't be cheered up.
No. There's no there you can't.
Yeah.
And my for instance, situationally, I had a situation at work where you remember the story, I'm sure.
Yeah.
And we had a gentleman that reached out to me and for help and through text messages, and I didn't recognize the severity of what was going on and dealt with it how I thought should be dealt with. And long story short, gentleman the next evening showed up at work with an AR rifle or with an AR, and ended up committing suicide by cop. And I'd like to think I spend the vast majority of my life trying to help people, in whatever way I can that are struggling. And this was the, lobbed pitch right down the middle of home plate, guys asking you for help. And you didn't answer the call, and it just spun me out. And I remember several conversations with you about it. But yeah, it's typically either a feeling of failure for me or something that happens, or it's just crippling. I can't, and that typically turns into anxiety for me because of the areas it affects in my life elsewhere. And I've always struggled with anxiety. And we were talking about that too, the words for these things.
Yeah.
We put labels and words on them, but I do struggle with anxiety, and that's the only way. I guess you could just say I struggle with fear of things. And there's all kinds of labels you can put there, but ultimately it brings me to a point where I'm crippled, where I can't do a simple task. Making a cup of coffee can be extremely difficult.
Wow.
Or a pot of coffee.
Yeah, that's a good way to describe it.
Just because you want to just quit, you just want to I don't want to go forward. I'm just gonna go get back. I'm gonna get back in bed.
Yeah. Yeah.
Call in to work. I'm not coming today, type thing. And you can't explain it. Explaining that to somebody, especially as much as we pray for strength, and as a man, all the pressure that's on you as the father of your kids, the husband, the spiritual leader in the home, the husband to your wife, the leader at Men's Alliance, the leader at work, wherever it is, and it's almost like a feeling of impending doom that you can't even muster up the strength to make a cup of coffee. And the perspective of other people, all that spins in my head too. I don't know if you've ever, but there's a clinical term for that, imposter syndrome. That everything's basically going to be pulled out from underneath of you, and everybody's going to figure out that I'm not the person.
I have never talked to a man who didn't have that.
Right. Exactly. Right.
Yeah. I think it's so common. It shouldn't even be called a syndrome. It's like it's just something we've all got.
Correct.
Like we just all feel that way.
For what I do for a living, I do a lot of work with like root cause analysis. If you track all of that back, And that's the reason I do see a difference between depression and anxiety. Because a lot of, like, depression can bring on anxiety and anxious thoughts for me. But ultimately, those anxious thoughts come from a fear of what people or the world may think of me. And that comes back to pride.
Yeah, I think that is such an important part of this dynamic of talking about depression as men. Like you were just saying this, right? Like there's this, even just the word. We don't want to say the word. We don't want to admit that we're depressed. It sounds weak, and we don't want to sound weak. So we're not depressed,
That's right.
right?
I'm just
I'm not
struggling.
depressed. You're depressed.
Yeah.
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 Right? It's like the opposite of everything we want to be or do or portray ourselves as. And so, but that's the catch-22. Because when you don't admit it and you don't talk about it and you hold it all in, that's where you're setting yourself up for that implosion, that suicide, right? That's the guy who never admitted it. That's the guy who never talked about it,
Yep.
who never said, hey, I am struggling. I'm not coming in today because I'm struggling with some severe depression over here. Right? Like, when was the last time you ever heard a guy say that? Right? So I think it does just carry, especially, if you're married, and especially then if you have kids, right? It carries all this baggage with the word. Like, oh, this guy, the only person who needs to stay in bed all day, you think about this, like medically throughout history, it's pregnant women,
Yeah.
right? You get put on bed rest.
Yep.
Like being a person who must stay in bed all day, that sounds like you're a pregnant woman,
Yep.
right? And so we want to be the furthest thing away from that,
Yep.
which that's fine to not stay in bed all day, but I'm just saying, like, we got to be okay talking about this.
Yeah.
I think that's the best thing we can do for it is this right here. You sit down, pull up a chair, light a fine cigar, and be real. Be real about your struggles. Here's what I'm going through, and even if you're talking to a guy who hasn't been through that, who hasn't personally been able to relate, if he's just a good listener, just saying it out loud is all that matters. You don't have to find a guy who's gone through exactly what you've gone through. You just need to find a brother in Christ that you can talk to.
Yep. I totally agree. There's actually as we're talking about this, there's a good buddy of mine at work right now, and he doesn't struggle with all the things or he doesn't have the same dynamic in his life right now. He's a single guy, and as we're sitting here talking about it, and I talk about all the pressures that I have on me, and that bring me to these struggle points, and he's struggling right now with it, and he doesn't have all those struggle points. He doesn't have any kids. He's not married. He doesn't have any of those things. And I never thought about it. This is coming to me right now as we're sitting here talking about it.
But he's struggling
That
with
guy,
depression?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
And this guy is in an even more dangerous position,
Yeah.
right? Because there aren't those things
Yeah.
to keep him,
That push you to
right, to keep going.
Yeah.
Right?
That's right. Yeah.
And, and so I think you said this earlier, it is different because everybody's circumstance is different that brings them to this point. Whether it's grief that brings on depression, whether it's, just a feeling of hopelessness, the lack of hope, a feeling of despair that you choose, your choices continue driving you down that road of despair, and you feel hopeless. Whatever that is, it's different for everyone. The key place that takes you is just to isolate. It is that you just don't want to do anything. You can't do anything, and I know we say it all the time, but isolation is absolutely terminal.
Yeah.
If it's not dealt with, and the only way out of that, is to choose hope. And a lot of times, choosing hope is just to choose to call somebody and say, I've called you at my wit's end. during that whole thing, the whole story I just talked about, and we just listened for a long time as I was having it out, driving down the road, and you just listened, and you helped me realize that a lot of the thoughts that I was having, a lot of the things that I was thinking about, a lot of things that were driving me into that pit or further into isolation were not the case. That we're not God. We don't control all the circumstances. We don't, we make mistakes. We miss things. We're human beings. Which it spun the perspective of the whole situation. I'd been depressed for weeks. Actually, I think it had been a month or two. It had been quite some time that I'd been struggling with it. But that one conversation, changed everything.
Wow.
Changed the whole dynamic. And I
It's
haven't
amazing
shared with
the
you on
power
the back end of that.
That a conversation has.
Yeah. I think one of the, during that, one of the things that I've hung on to is a strong Jake break right there. But one of the things I hung on to, and you probably don't even remember saying it, but one of your responses to me when I was telling you what I was struggling so hard with, like why didn't I help him? Why didn't God help me see that he needed help? It could have changed everything, maybe, but just realizing that I'm not God. Furthermore, you said Tom Brady threw picks too. And something just resonated in me that I'm not perfect.
Yeah.
I'm never gonna get it all right. And I struggle, a lot of the reason I have anxiety is because of the pride, I struggle with pride, so I struggle with perfectionism. But realizing that, we're not going to get it all right all the time. And that one comment that you made brought so much peace. And it kind of just took away the weight that was on me. And that all came through just a conversation. And I think there's a massive spiritual element.
Oh, for sure.
I mean, massive spiritual element, right? Because as long as you're not talking about it, you are choosing to take that on. You're taking it on. You're attempting to take that on. And there's a lot that can be spoken into your life by God through other people. And there's always some type of trigger of someone else that's helped me get out of something. Whether it's just prayer in and of itself, or reaching out to someone and telling them how much I'm struggling, or somebody noticing it, and just hitting me upside the head with it, and asking me, "Hey man, what's up?" But something's always led to hope, and tracking back to hope somehow. And if there's hope,
there's always hope. And that's like hope is like the rope. It's like the lifeline, right? And when you see it, when you can grab a hold of it, even if you don't know how this is going to work, right? Just holding on to it. It's funny that you said that, because that story about me telling you about Tom Brady, I actually found myself in a similar situation to you, and I had a guy tell me something similar just recently. Like, I needed to hear that come back to me. And so part of my story is that about a little over 2 years ago, I went through a very terrible life event. And I'm not going to get into the details on that here. Maybe in 10 years we'll do the podcast on that one. But it's something that rocked me, and I've been working on processing it. And I read a great word for it this morning, metabolizing it.
That's good.
Yeah, it was talking about being able to metabolize grief. And it said you take it in, just like think about the way you digest something. You take something in, and then you break it all apart. You break it down, and your body takes all the good that it can find in it and absorb it to make you stronger. And then all the toxic waste you eliminate. And if you don't eliminate the waste, you'll get sick.
Yeah.
And if you do that process of taking it in, breaking it apart, finding the good to digest, that makes you stronger. That builds bone, muscle. That is experience, wisdom, character, and then you eliminate the waste. So I love this new thought in my mind of metabolizing. So over these past some years, I've been working to process through, metabolize through this experience. I was sharing this whole story with a guy just 2 weeks ago. We're sitting down for coffee, and we hadn't talked in a long time, so he was catching me up on his life. I was catching him up on mine. And I was sharing about my difficulty that I was going through, and he said the craziest thing to me. He said, I think you are taking too much credit for this bad thing happening to you.
Hey men, is your money reflecting how God wants to use you? Do you have a plan for your money? Are you optimizing your situation on taxes and investments? I want to tell you guys about Tom Doc Love. He's over at the Main Street Group, and he will help sharpen you around money. Now, I personally use Doc and the Main Street Group for my investments. He handles mine. I can tell you from experience, he is phenomenal. I highly recommend him. His retirement investments since July 2023 are up 64% as of today, September 2025, and that includes fees and costs. And the S&P 500 is up only 48% during that same period. So he is got a phenomenal track record at the Main Street Group. The average client pays less than 1% per year, which also includes tax and financial planning fees. By the way, past performance does not guarantee future results. Make sure you mention Men's Alliance when you reach out, and they will invest the first year of fees into Men's Alliance 501c3 nonprofit. That's right. Part of their mission to invest in bringing men closer to Christ, with over 200,000 raised for Men's Alliance so far. So Doc, Nuke, Sherpa, and Rev all are tribesmen at the Main Street Group. They are fee-only fiduciaries, and Tom Doc is the owner. He's a certified financial planner, a Dave Ramsey Smart Vestor Pro. They use Charles Schwab to manage their client assets, and their office is in Innsbruck, Virginia, but they can serve clients throughout the world. With Tom, you get a guy who has been recognized as the #2 financial advisor by the Richmond Times-Dispatch, #1 in Style Weekly, and a top 40 under 40 advisor in the country in 2019. He's also been recognized by the Wall Street Journal, Fortune, and Forbes magazine. Dave Ramsey and Charles Schwab are separate entities, of course, from the Main Street Group. So check them out if you're looking for any sort of financial advice, planning, investments. You can't beat the Main Street Group. Call Doc and tell him you're with Men's Alliance.
And just the way he worded that made me stop and think, like taking too much credit. And he was like, that thing isn't even yours to take credit for.
Right.
And I think I even said, like, okay, unpack that a little. What do you mean? And he was like, well, there's another person involved in it. And that person has free will. And they're an autonomous agent.
Right.
They can do whatever they want. So you don't get to take credit for something going wrong with another person who has free will. There's a whole side of that equation that you don't get any say over. And he goes, it's almost like you're trying to like own too much of this problem. Anyway, I'd never heard anybody say that, but hearing you say back to me the Tom Brady bit, I'm like, that's something we all need to be reminded of. Is we can, like you trying to do with that guy who came to work with the AR, like you feeling bad about that is you taking way too much credit.
Oh yeah.
For that problem.
Oh yeah.
You know, it's like,
it definitely did not happen because of me.
You're
right?
upset at yourself.
Right? Yeah.
Because you weren't
right.
Superman.
Correct.
Right? You're like, oh, why wasn't I Superman? Why wasn't I omniscient?
Yeah.
You know, it's like you didn't know. You couldn't have known. And sometimes I think we carry a lot of stuff that's really not ours to carry. I don't know why. Don't ask me why. That's too deep. I don't know why we're doing this, but it just seems to be something that humans do, right? We can pick up baggage that doesn't belong to us and then try to carry it at our own detriment. Right?
100%.
And it's almost like we would feel guilty if we didn't carry it, right? Like if we just skipped along. Yeah. We life would be too good. It's like, well, I need to carry some burdens here. And that's an interesting thing. But anyway, I wanted to share that while it was on my mind that the guy just told me. Here's what I want to ask, because we need to talk about this. We can't do a conversation on depression without talking about medication.
Yep. I'm very familiar with medication.
Because I know that as much stigma there is attached to just the word depression and men admitting that they have depression, there's even more stigma in taking medication for it.
Yep.
Right? So let's talk about that.
My story goes a long way back with medication. It's I'll give a very brief version of.
Yeah, you don't have to go all the way back.
Yeah, so I used to. I had pretty rough time between the ages of. I believe I've talked about this before, but from the age of 12 to 16, and I was on many different medications, psychiatric medications. It was a pretty long list, laundry list, and I eventually was admitted into a residential treatment facility, and was taken off of everything the day that I walked in the door when I was 16. So, that was in 97. So from 97 on, my life changed drastically. I hit my knees for the first night in that place too and prayed for the first time in my life. And everything changed in that moment. Life went on, I'd say on a much different trajectory for me. Got out of that place, graduated high school, went into the fire service, started working through career progression, started a family, all those things. And I was able to manage through all the at times anxiety, depression, you name it, whatever it was. I was able to somewhat manage through it. And then, when kids came along, the pressures of life started to build again. Mm-hmm. And I was overtaken by anxiety to the point where I would consider quitting my job and going to do something totally different, where all that would go away or whatever the case would be. I remember having a conversation with you. This all goes back to a couple conversations, but
we've had a few conversations.
Yeah, we've talked a couple times, and I was just at my wit's end, and I had always sworn medication was a lot of the reason that I'd gotten to the place that I was when I was 16.
Yeah,
Right?
you had a lot of history.
Yes.
You know.
They took me to. I went to one psychiatrist. They
Yeah.
put me on something. I went to another. They put me on something else. When I walked into that place, I was on.
As a kid.
Yeah, you name it.
Yeah.
Lithium, Luvox, Adderall, all Zoloft. I was on all these medications. I believe I was on 6 or 7 meds when I went in there. So that was always part of the problem for me, right? Like it was over-medicating. I was over-medicated as a kid. My parents were doing their best to try to get me the best help they could, but the medication list grew. So I always related the root cause of that. All my problems it was the medication. Hey, medication went away. I worked through it, and now I'm good. But then all the anxiety came welling back, and depression. I'd say anxiety a lot more so than depression, but that led to depression. And I remember calling you one day. I was thinking about, like, I can't continue on like this. I was at my wit's end. It's probably 4 years ago. And I called you up, and I was telling you, I was like, man, I do not want to go back on medication, but I cannot continue. And you were like, you feel like you're like sick? And I was like, yeah. And he was like, if you were sick, what would you do? And I was like, well, I'd go see a doctor probably. And he was like, there's nothing wrong with going to see the doctor. And if the doctor prescribes you medication, there's nothing wrong with trying the medication to see what happens.
Yeah.
And I did, and it worked. I got on a medication. The anxiety went away, and things were baseline. Not a lot of extreme highs, not a lot of extreme lows. It was just steady. The problem with steady is, for me, is steady doesn't make me desperate for God. So it rocked my faith.
Did it kind of numb you?
Yes,
Yeah.
100%. Just numb, no spiritual, no connection to God. Open up the Bible, I'm reading words. Just no, it just made me numb. It numbed me. It pacified me. It took the emotions away. And I multiple times tried to come off the medication, and unfortunately, was just unsuccessful. I'd get a week, 4 or 5 days into it, and just the anxiety would just come roaring back. There'd be a situation in my life, and it would just well up. And eventually, I was able to come off. I came off medicine. It's been about a year now. I was taking Zoloft, and I came off of it about a year ago. And it's been a journey. It's not hasn't been easy. Slowly worked myself off of it, or weaned myself off of it, if you will. And I've been through bouts of anxiety since. And I recognize it. And one of the biggest changes, and I'm probably not telling this story linear as it should have been told, but one of the biggest changes was I had moved. And I hadn't been as close with a lot of Men's Alliance things. I've trained for several ultra marathons and run those, and I had moved to Maryland.
Moved away from your tribe.
That's it.
Yeah.
Right?
Moving is a huge one, man, because when you move, it takes away your whole support system. Right? Your church, your friends, your neighbors, your tribe.
And I didn't have anyone around me coming off the medicine.
Yeah.
And this past time, I've connected with several, men, and particularly the one I was talking about earlier that's struggling right now. And opened up, and talked about the stuff as I'm dealing with it and walking through it. And we've launched a tribe, on the Eastern Shore of Maryland, and just being surrounded by a group of Christian brothers.
Shore tribe,
rolling strong, and just those guys. Honestly, like it doesn't even have to be like reaching out but just being surrounded by, and when I say being surrounded by, I don't talk to these guys every day, I don't, but I know they're there. I know I'm surrounded by Christian men. I know I can reach out to somebody for prayer.
When you say surrounded by, I picture the creed huddle at the end of a tribe.
Yep.
And being literally surrounded by. At the end of tribe, when we creed out, a lot of people say surrounded by a group of brothers, and they're speaking figuratively. And when you say it, I'm like, man, we literally
Yes.
surround ourselves.
Yes. Weekly.
Both sides.
Yep.
You got guys putting their arm around you left and right, talking out loud about not struggling alone. Like that is, dude, it doesn't,
Yeah.
I mean,
Getting
it doesn't
back
get
up every time.
any more powerful than that.
Yes. And that's honestly the difference this time. Like, I couldn't come off the medicine. And it was because, honestly, I was isolated. I was, I wasn't surrounded. At the time, just moving away, the physical moving, and trying to figure out life somewhere new with my family and get the kids into a school, and all those things. And being surrounded by them is awesome, but it's just different. It's just different being surrounded by men who understand and are in the same. I can't go talk to Tucker about, right? And it's just
Not yet.
And even your wife, she's there and serves Kelly. My wife serves in so many ways to uplift me and keep me going. But the big one is just being surrounded by a group of men who are struggling with a lot of the exact same things I am.
Yeah. Man, I can so relate. I was at a point, I would say 3 years ago, even 3-4 years ago, I was a huge advocate for talking about depression.
Yeah.
But I would have to say, and I would have told people, yeah, if you need medication, go get it. I'm not like I'm not an anti-doctor, anti-med, counselor, coach. I've always told people, hey, if you're, I probably said something like this to you, right? Like, hey, if you had a problem with your heart, would you take heart medicine?
Right.
If you had a problem with your kidney, would you take kidney medicine? Well, you've got a problem going on with your brain. That's another organ, right? So I've always believed this, but I wasn't doing it. I wasn't taking any medicine, right? And even though, because I've always said, my depression's not clinical. It only lasts a day or two. I'm okay. I don't need it. But when I got rocked 2 years ago, I was powering through. I was talking to people, so I will say I was doing that. But I got so down, so unbelievably down, that my wife really, really encouraged me. Mm-hmm. I stopped just short of saying she begged me. She highly encouraged me. She was like, you need medication. She was like, you absolutely need to go see a doctor. You need to get on medication. You are not yourself. You are in a major slump, and you don't have to be on it forever, but I think it will help pull you out of this slump. And I was so reluctant. I was like, oh. Mm-hmm. Man, it was pride. It was exactly what you're saying. It was pride. But, coming up on, this was 2 years ago, coming up before Christmas, she was like, please go get on something for the holiday. I think that's when and how, They're so good, man. Wives are always playing 4D chess, man.
I know.
They're always two moves ahead of us. And I did. And so for the
Yeah.
first time in my life,
4D chess.
I think it was 2 years ago, I went and saw a doctor, and I said, you know, she was like, this doctor, she was like, all right, so what's the problem? And I was like, I'm insanely depressed and need medication. Like, I'm not beating around the bush here. I don't need you to figure it out.
Right.
I'm going to tell you exactly what. And it was like, okay, here you go. Boom. Prescription for Lexapro. And it definitely helped.
Oh, yeah.
It absolutely helped. But you're totally right. Like, when you take something to numb the lows, it also dulls the highs.
Yep.
Right? If it's taking the edge off the lows, it's going to also take the edge off the highs.
Yep.
You're not going to be doing this, you know, you're going to be doing this, which is good because it gets you out of the trench. But it's not good long term because you're going to miss out on a lot of joy and all the things that make you, right? And so I think I went on to it. I think we agreed between me and the doctor and Carrie. We were like, I'm going to be on it for 1 year. I remember saying that I'll be on this for 1 year. Started it right around Christmas, and I was like, we'll do till next Christmas. And I was on it for a year. And then my goal was I went off of it that next January. Right after Christmas, right after the holidays, I was like, okay, it's been a year.
Yep.
I'm coming off of it. And I came off of it, and I was off of it for January and half of February, I think. And man, I just nosedived. Man, it was, and I was just down, just couldn't get going, could not do life, couldn't make the coffee.
Yep.
You know, and I went back on it and regrouped. kind of like, whoa, okay, hold on. All right, because you really feel what you're feeling then. Right?
Yeah.
And then I did it, I stayed on it for like maybe just a couple weeks, realized, okay, this is what it's going to take. This is what's going off of it's going to look like. And then I went off it again. Smarter this time, not just so stumbling into it like it's a date on the calendar and I'm going off on this date. It was like, okay, I went off of it that time, and I've stayed off of it. But I'll tell you what was crazy. You talk about like a test. As soon as I went off of it, my mom died. As soon as I went off of it, I got all off of it, and I was okay. And do we need to move?
No, you're good.
Okay.
Around the sun.
Okay. As soon as we went off of it, my mom died, and I did not go back on it. I'll tell you what I did. And this, I hesitate to say this a little bit, but I think it's very important to say, but I don't want to make it sound like this is like a panacea. I joined Gold's Gym. Like I literally said, weightlifting is about to be my new therapy.
Yep.
Right? Because I know all the benefits of lifting heavy weights. And man, so as soon as I went off it and then my mom died, I joined Gold's Gym, and that I noticed that did for me mentally exactly, and even better than the Lexapro was doing. It was like I would go in there 3 days a week and lift the heaviest stuff I could as many times as I could, and when I came out, I felt better than Lexapro. And this is while you've been doing like your 100-mile runs.
I remember the moment, and it's all coming. It's all chronologically.
that?
It's all lining up. I remember when you told me about lifting heavy weights because we were both in a very similar. We both came off the medicine finally at the same time, and I was telling you some of the things that were working for me, and you were like, "Let me tell you the value and the benefit of lifting heavy weights."
So for me, I don't know, you might be different, but for me, cardio does not make me feel better. Cardio makes me feel much worse.
Right. Yeah.
But lifting like gets those chemicals going without completely fatiguing your body. And so, man, I just felt like, okay, I'm good. If I could make it through the funeral medication free, I'm good. It's behind me. So, I've been off of it for a long time now. And here's my view on medication for depression. I think it works a lot like a defibrillator. Like sometimes you need it to get shocked back
in rhythm,
back into living again. You can get so far down that I'm still an advocate of the medication. I think I needed it. I think it was good. I think it's good for other people. I'd recommend it, but I don't think it's, for me at least, I'll say, for me at least, it wasn't going to be a long-term thing. And, but I also appreciate the fact of I've tried to go off at once and nosedived, so I can really understand how being on it for a while, you don't realize what your baseline is anymore. You kind of lose your baseline.
Yep.
And so I think it's a great thing. Like a defibrillator, you need it, but once your heart's beating again, you don't use the defibrillator every day.
Right.
Right. Then you start doing other things.
Yep.
Start, better managing my time and my schedule. So one of the things that looks totally different now on my calendar than 2.5 years ago looked is there is a ton of open space on my calendar. I have I'm talking on my Monday to Friday business hours calendar, there is a trail run every week, and there's of course a tribe, and then there's 2 Gold's gyms, and then there's a block of time on my calendar for spending time in the woods. So those are my therapies: 1 trail run, 2 weight lifts, a tribe, and a sit in the woods time weekly. Right. And so sometimes my woods time, I might be like putting out deer corn or moving a deer stand, or just it's kind of like piddling, farting around, getting ready for something, doing something in the woods, or just set up a chair and light a cigar. Cigars are really good for anxiety and depression because they make you stop whatever you're doing and just go have a seat and enjoy looking at the lake or the trees or whatever. So I'll tell you, that kind of stuff was never on my calendar. It was all about accomplishment and efficiency and getting stuff done. And now you look at my calendar and you're like, is this guy serious? This guy accomplish anything? Does he get anything done? He's in the woods. He's in the woods. He's on a trail. He's at Gold's. And it's so funny. I don't go to Gold's Gym for a physical reason. That's a nice byproduct. I go there for mental health.
Yeah.
I lift weights for mental health.
I think there's a lot. Yeah, and then that's the talking about the physical aspect of it. Guardian calls trail running trail therapy.
Trail therapy for sure.
And just getting out and physical exertion in the wilderness.
There's something about being in the woods.
Correct.
Like I have no desire to run
Correct.
on a sidewalk through the neighborhood. I'm not ever doing
Neither
that.
do
I'm
I.
going to I'll go drive 30 minutes to the state park. I'll waste an
Yes.
hour driving to make my run happen in the state park in the trees.
Agree. Totally
Yeah.
agree. There's something to the outdoors for sure.
Yeah.
And that's something I do through trail running, but I haven't. I need to work that back in.
Mm-hmm.
I've been out with a foot injury, and glad you mentioned that, because just being here in the outdoors,
Yeah.
and the cigar's like I've picked up the habit, not a habit, I do it once or twice on the weekends, but just and it really just puts me in a place where I'm sitting still
Yeah.
and being still.
Yeah.
And when I'm being still, it's slowing down life.
Right. It
To
makes
the
you
point where
carve
I'm
out
thinking, correct.
time.
Yes.
Yeah.
I can't walk out back and be like, oh, I'm gonna get through this thing real quick.
That's right.
It's a 30-minute ordeal.
Yeah.
Just to get through it.
Yeah.
And carving out just 30 minutes for slowing everything down, if it's, and typically in the morning, we were talking a few minutes ago, right, about like something about the first 2 hours of the morning and all the good thoughts come, and it's a lot of the time because we're just being still, right? Whether it's you're in your Bible, you're praying, you're doing whatever you do first thing in the morning. For me, it's being still. And there's a lot to be accomplished by just that, and processing, because you're
So
never
true.
processing through anything if
Yeah.
you're not taking the time to be still.
Yeah. I don't think most men are taking the time to be still. And in fact, as I was talking earlier about like my typical day when I was active duty,
That's like my day now.
the
my
only
kid's
time
age.
in that schedule that you're sitting by yourself thinking is the car drive, right? Your drive home. And I think this is why a lot of men just sit in their car when they get home too. It's like, I don't want to go in.
Yeah.
I don't want to face the music. Well, the reason you feel that way is because where you are right now, sitting, thinking, is good. And you need a lot more of that.
Yep.
Right? And so here's the kicker. Here's the kicker. Everything we've talked about has happened to me today and right now during this podcast. So I've been doing really good for months. Like, I haven't had one of those bad days in months until today.
When you're going to sit down and talk about depression.
And when I was out earlier today, picking up the trailer, picking up the UTV, I got so down, I didn't want to come here and do this. And I was like, dadgummit, I thought I'd been doing good, right? So it felt like that feeling again of like failure,
Yep.
right? Like, oh, I thought I'd been doing good. Well, I think we have to always realize there's no finish line here. Like, this is a part of struggling of the human experience, right? Like, if you're a living, breathing human, you're going to have problems in life. And I shouldn't have been surprised that it happened today. I think it happened today because I was thinking so much about depression, thinking about doing a podcast on depression, thinking so much about, oh, we're doing the podcast today on depression, probably made me depressed. But here's how this whole thing is. Today is like a microcosm of everything, because I didn't cancel this podcast.
Yep.
Right? I didn't say, oh, I don't want to do it. I'm canceling it. I'm not going to show. I'm going to sit and drink. I was like, even while I was feeling down, I was like, I'm doing it. I'm going to go do it. and it was a different feeling than like pushing through like you might do to go to work.
Right.
I wasn't like going to work. I was pushing through to do this because I knew this would make things better. And so if you look at what I've done, if you look at this podcast today, this was my therapy, right? So I was down. I didn't want to do this podcast. I was like, nope, we're doing it. Kind of like the way you know you need to talk to a friend, but you don't want to.
Yep.
But you're like, nope, I'm gonna. And it's crazy because I don't know how long we've been sitting here talking, but I feel way better. Like the depression that I had, or, we talk about labels. I don't even know if it was depression. It was just being down that I had earlier today is gone because I took a bag chair into the woods, lit a cigar, and talked with a friend for an hour
Yeah.
about how I'm feeling. That's crazy that something so simple is the fix for something so mysterious and complicated that we struggle to understand our own depression.
Yep.
But it has the simplest solution. You talk about it. If I would have canceled this and stayed by myself and poured a bourbon, I'd be doing way worse than I was before, right?
Well, and then that can amplify.
Oh,
right. Like,
yeah.
I cannot believe I did that, and it
Oh
can
yeah.
just,
Then you feel like shame.
and you're drinking depression literally.
So I mean, it's just, it's crazy that thinking about doing a podcast on depression is depressing.
Yeah.
And I don't think you wanted to do this podcast either.
I didn't, just because, depression, I've always used the word anxiety, like we were
Yeah.
talking about the terms.
Yeah.
So you don't I didn't feel qualified to sit down here
Yeah.
and talk to you on a podcast about depression.
Yeah.
But it's no doubt something that I've struggled with. And I think everyone has bouts of struggle with. We all go
Yeah.
through periods of despair.
Yeah.
And clinical, non-clinical, the terminology, all those things.
Call it whatever you want.
Yeah.
The solution's the same no matter what you call
Correct.
it. Yeah. So I did about a solid 20 seconds of research for today's podcast. I looked up great men who have struggled with depression.
Oh, yeah.
And the list is so amazing, right? And a couple of them that just jumped out to me off the list was Abraham Lincoln.
Mm-hmm.
Abraham Lincoln had severe depression in the White House. Like, while he was president of the United States during the Civil War, he struggled with depression. Another one is, I'll just say this one. Winston Churchill battled depression, and he named his depression. He nicknamed it the Black Dog. And he would say, the black dog's in the room today, or the black dog's been following me around today. And his friends all knew what he meant and what he was talking about. And I thought that one was really interesting.
Yeah.
Right? It's almost like a dark shadow.
Yeah.
Like following him around, that he felt its presence.
Yep.
Right? And then I also saw like modern current examples that I didn't know about, surprised me on the Google search, was Dwayne Johnson.
Really?
Yeah. The Rock. Turns out he's apparently very outspoken advocate for people need to talk more about their depression.
Yep.
Yeah. And so it's just a good reminder that, hey, you're not terminally unique.
Yep.
Your depression isn't something special. that only you have and nobody understands. It's like tons of people, if not everybody's had it.
That's right.
It's manageable, but the management is exactly opposite of what the depression tells you to do. And anxiety, right? Anxiety tries to make your world smaller.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you stay home.
Mm-hmm.
It tells you sit down. It tells you don't speak up.
Yep.
It says cancel the plans.
Yep.
Right? So does depression. And the solution is do not listen to that.
That's right.
Right? If you cancel everything and stay home and sit down and be quiet and don't speak up, it will get worse and your world will get smaller. Right? So I would just encourage, everybody listening to this, you got to find a brother and talk about it. I have said some of this stuff. I'll throw this stuff out at Tribe around the fire. Even when I'm not even saying it for the people listening, I'm saying it because I need to say it. Right. Yeah. And I think there's a difference there. Sometimes we say things because the person we're saying them to needs to hear them, but sometimes we say things just because we need to say them out loud.
Encouraging yourself.
Yeah.
Or like trying to, I totally agree with you with that comment. A lot of things you say, you're trying to say it because it's something you're dealing with. You're struggling.
Yeah, and I'm like,
with.
I know I shouldn't hold this in. I know that by voicing this out loud, it will diminish its power and its control inside of me.
It's innately a feeling of providing hope to yourself.
Yeah. And so often when we do this, as with everything Men's Alliance, we say this at Tribe, there's going to be like 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 guys that are like, yeah, me too.
Yep. Yeah. I think it comes back to, and you think about it in any other terms, it's like depression is crisis. Right? There's a crisis. The black dog, however, this depressive state that you're in crisis. And the best solution to that crisis is any intervention of hope. And hope can come in so many different forms. Hope can come in your buddy telling you Tom Brady through picks. Hope can come in Zoloft. But then, hope can come in just showing up to something that that it would have been easier for you not to show up to, just showing up to Tribe. And the guy starts off talking God leads off the devotion talking about depression. You're like, how is this? You made a decision. You chose hope by choosing that. You choose hope, by speaking about it yourself, something you're struggling with. And all of these are crisis tactics to defeat what's defeating you in the moment, or whatever it is you're dealing with. And there's so many of those, and like you said, it's different. We all have different tactics of how we deal with things. But the tactic that's being used against you is isolation too.
Yeah. Yeah, I think Satan always wants us to think we're worse than everybody.
Yeah.
And we need to, and nobody will understand us.
That's right.
Right? Nobody will understand you. You're worse than everybody else. You need to stay home and call in sick today.
Yep.
And don't tell anybody about this. And the answer is always the opposite. Right before we started recording today, Sunshine was sharing something else, though, that I think is the perfect note to end this on. Before we even started recording or started talking about depression, you were talking about in anything that's happening in life, whatever it is you're going through, if you will just say the name of Jesus out loud, it will instantly change things, right? And I think that you weren't even talking about depression, but I think it's the answer for everything. right? And ultimately, that's where all hope is.
Yeah.
And so that's something I'm going to start working on more is praying out loud in the name of Jesus, you know, when I'm having those tough moments, is just saying, Jesus, you know what I'm going through right now. Help me
Yep.
out here. Help me to continue to be the husband and father you want me to be. Help me to represent you to people that you're going to bring into my path today. Pray this in your name, Jesus. Amen. And just that simple, that quick, that easy. I think you're onto something.
If there's nothing else you can get out of your mouth
Yeah.
but his name,
If that's all you got.
there's nothing that comes out. Battling temptation, like, and tempting, what we were talking about is like a tempting thought too. Like if you're tempted with something and you know that you shouldn't do whatever it is that thing is, or you're in a moment and you realize that, if you can get his name in out of your mouth, it'll change everything in a moment.
That's it. Guys, if you're struggling, talk to a brother. Talk to Jesus. There's always hope. It's something we go through. I know a lot of other guys in Men's Alliance go through it as well, and it's something we need to talk more about. So don't let Satan whisper in your ear that your depression or your anxiety disqualifies you from leading. That's a lie that he whispers to everybody. That your sin has uniquely disqualified you, and that's something I know Sunshine and I both work on daily to overcome that. So, guys, reach out to your tribes and reach out to Jesus. Let's go eat some pizza.
Let's do it.
To find out more about what we are doing in Men's Alliance, go to men'salliancetribe.com. This will help you find a tribe near you. We have grown so much over the past few years. There are thousands of tribesmen all over the country in hundreds of tribes. We're growing every single week. Go to men'salliancetribe.com, find a tribe near you, or maybe you're the man to start one in your area.